Hello, America, and to our friends around the world, greetings and welcome back. If you've been keeping up with the other videos over the last 2.5 weeks, you'll understand the reason I've been distracted with those feathered friends. All right, so mom's punishment ended child. Ashley Fagan out of Ohio is being charged with involuntary manslaughter, in obstructing justice, 2 counts of permitting child abuse and endangering children, as well as murder. She's out of Ohio, and as we've recently learned last month with Emily Nutley, this is a growing trend, whether it's mothers, whether it's women teachers, women in general. There is no end to it. And there's a reason the grim fairy tales indicated with the stories of Snow White or Hansel and Gretel as two examples of the dangers of leaving children with women. Because our current modern age will have you believe it's only men. This is untrue. Women are just as violent, if not more so, partly because they are insulated from the repercussions, from consequences, especially when you got somebody such as Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett simping for these abusive women, or Speaker Mike Johnson doing, declaring war on men to protect and pay for these entitled abusive women. So this is a tragedy, and I don't want to distract from the fact that there is a 6-year-old child who is no longer with us that suffered horribly, and according to the coroner, not just suffered horribly, but this was a continued torturous abuse for months before was ended. This is unacceptable on any level, and we as a society cannot allow these rogue judges to continue this level of abuse, permitting them to do it with these probation sentences, such as what Angela Yurimova did with a false allegation, or Melody Johnson out of Arizona did when she attempted to end her husband for money. And as I already mentioned, Emily Nutley, the Ohio private school, all boys private school lead guidance counselor that abused the student, as well as what was her name? Emily starts with a V, out of Oregon at the McLaren juvenile facility for boys. This is rampant. This is abusive, and we're going to go back to a judge here in a moment. But before we get there, let's take a look at Tracy Walker out of where was it? Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. Mobile, Alabama, was arrested last month. She was an instructor at Collins-Rhodes Elementary School. Aggravated child abuse after a 4-year-old student was hospitalized for alcohol consumption. They had a blood alcohol rate, the BAC, of 0.29. Remember, in driver's education that you took most likely in high school or that you read about in your state's DMV handbook, 0.08 is pretty much the standard that's considered intoxicant, that you're going to be charged with driving under the influence. And here you have a child that is nearly, it's 4 years old, that is almost 4 times that level, or at least 3.5 times that level. This is unacceptable. This is, that's brain damage. That's going to hinder this child's mental and emotional development. Then you have this middle school teacher out of Bradenton, Florida, 28-year-old. And I had to make certain by looking at the picture, and you can see here, Oliver fell. I kept looking at it, make sure it wasn't a typo, but this is a woman, at least appearance-wise. 28-year-old Oliver Fell, a middle school teacher out of Manatee County School District at the Carlos E. Haile Middle School, was surrendered herself after sending lewd and harmful material to a minor. As I've said before, and just not just this video, but previous videos, it's not only teachers and counselors and mothers and volunteers at church. It's everywhere. This is rampant. This is everywhere. And then you have this mother and daughter out of California, Royal Oaks, Maria Marquez and Johanna Marquez, an unlicensed daycare. They had 30 children. Now, if you know anything about child care facilities and even elderly care facilities, you're only allowed a certain number of children per caregiver. For example, I believe it's a 5-to-1 or 4-to-1 ratio. Each jurisdiction is probably different, so look into that to make certain. But this child died. They're no longer with us also. And as a parent, you have to do your due diligence to protect your children. You can't, I'm a big proponent, advocate of homeschooling because of the fact you cannot trust these caregivers, you cannot trust these teachers, you cannot trust these church volunteers, you cannot trust these guidance counselors, you can't even trust a police officer. There was a woman a few months ago that was a police officer who was found to be abusing an underage boy. This is insanity. We cannot, as a society, continue to operate on this level. So let's take a look at Judge Sonya McKnight. This one isn't involving children. This one is involving a man who's now been blinded because this judge, who's supposed to represent justice, took it too far because she couldn't handle this man ending the relationship. So she meant to end him. But she's only getting 13 years. This is unacceptable. She, of all people, needs to be, because of that. She knows the law, and as a result, and sat in judgment of others. And therefore, how many lives has she ruined? Not just this man, but just in her entire career, because of this emotionally unhinged, abusive individual. Now, Gunther Hagelman posts on X quite frequently and had this, and this, he captions it, this is a typical liberal female. They can't be fixed. And it's not just liberals. You had Tommy Lauren and Laura Ingraham, last week, becoming unhinged with their covert feminism. And here you've got this one that goes for about a minute. Listen in.
Why the f doesn't he get a ticket?
I can help you talk to somebody.
He didn't use his turn signal!
So this woman, she follows a
Can I please
police
call an
officer
ambulance?
because the police officer didn't use a turn signal, and she rides his bumper, unable, look in the mirror and unable to see the car behind
So
you,
I
the
have
license
to
plate.
follow
That's how
every
you know that they're
law, but that
within that
can leave
that
the scene
perilous
without a turn signal?
danger
Give
zone.
him a ticket!
So she follows him
Do you need an ambulance?
and
He doesn't have a turn
just to
signal!
call him out, chastise him for not
Do you
using a
need to go
turn
to the...
signal, and
Do I get a ticket?
is just unhinged. Look at this. Look at her facial expressions. If you've been following the videos I've done with the body language training on,
Can I help you with anything
describing
else?
what Janine Driver, former ATF agent, and Joe Navarro, former FBI agent, as well as Dr. Paul Ekman, have detailed in
I can help you talk to
his
somebody.
books and
He
video
didn't
training.
use his turn signal!
Look at that. That is not an
Can I please
emotionally
call you an
well
ambulance?
individual. This is just, our society cannot function on this level Something has to be done. And as long as men continue to simp for these abusive women, it's not going to get fixed. It's going to get worse.
Do you need an ambulance?
If you have children,
You need to go to the...
I would strongly encourage you to keep them with you and educate them at home, or consider what's called a cooperative, where you get together with trusted family and neighbors.
Can I help you with anything else?
Develop a cooperative school, and look into alternatives on that level. Until then, see you in the next video. Stay safe, keep your family and those that matter to you close, and look out for each other.
Man, can I please call you an ambulance?